Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club for part two of our Estes Black Brant XII build. I am kind of midway through the fin construction process. So in fact, I've built all the big ones now. This was rather time consuming, and you can see I'm still working on the small ones at the moment. I'm going to move this out of the way, of course. Don't need it right now. There we go. But the process of building these went, I mean, it was okay, I guess. Um, Between this stage and working on the smaller fins, so I had not, remember, I had sanded these uh, seams here because I was concerned about the little burrs getting in the way. Well, it turns out that probably wasn't necessary, and it was probably not terribly helpful either. I ended up with taking a little bit too much off the beginning and the end, but not much off the middle. So these are not, they didn't fit together particularly well. On the other hand, here's one of the smaller fins, and this seam is actually quite nice. So I'm actually pleased with that. The other thing, so to deal with the fact that there was a crack in here, all I basically did was I took a little bit of glue, glued on the seam, and then smoothed it out as if I were making a fillet. So for most of them, that worked fine. You'll also notice that I didn't get these perfectly lined up at the end, and that is not a problem whatsoever because the next stage, not this video, but a subsequent one, is going to be to deal with uh, airfoiling these. So a lot of the excess wood here is going to get removed, which is also why I'm not going to bother to overly sand these because I'm going to sand them a lot in order to shape them. So these are going away, at least for the moment. It is worth noting, too, that this one, I am going to have to sand this a bit because I had a sizable crack in there. Essentially, I took the stuff I use as to finish to get rid of the grain, and I filled it in as if it were spackle, because this kind of is spackle. Not exactly, but it's wood fill. So in any event, this is the first coat in there. Yeah, it's probably ready to be sanded off. So I'm just going to go over it here quickly. I don't need this to be nice. I just want that crack filled in. I'm going to go over the top a little bit. Not much, because that's also going to get sanded pretty hard when I put the airfoil into this, which we'll see all about in a subsequent video. Anyway, looking at it, that looks, I mean, you can see obviously where the crack is, but only because it's filled in white and the wood is not white. So that looks pretty good. It might need another coat, but I'm going to go with probably not. All right, so I still have a couple more of these to make. Again, that process is slow, but this one actually went pretty well. The other thing that happened with some of the bigger fins is that for whatever reason, probably because of the way the weight was sitting on it, they kind of delaminated at one end of it. And they kind of, one piece of the wood kind of pulled apart. That was not really a big deal to fix. I just put a little bit of glue along the point where the wood was pulling apart from itself, clamped it with my fingers really hard for like 20 seconds, put the weight on it, and that took care of business. So those are ready for the next step. This one is waiting on its companions. So what's next? There's more woodworking to be done. The next thing that we have to do here is we have these little details. So I've already cut them out. They look like this. So what's going to happen here is I need to shape this thing quite dramatically. Now, the instructions say I need to line it up exactly with this diagram, which I'd like to think I have done pretty well. And then I need to draw lines. Oops, that's unfortunate. I'm going to make sure that I got this right. Okay, like so. And then I need to go across. Yeah, that is not going particularly well. There Okay, and then across the bottom as well. The idea here is, it's pretty good. I'm going to then shape this with my sanding block. This actually is going to take, it has to be shaped quite a bit. Now, this thing shows basically the way that it's going to have to be sanded. It's going to be pretty heavily beveled. Beveling just means kind of like I'm going to put a diagonal into it. So all you really need to do is take your sanding block. This is perpendicular to the wood. And then I'm just going to roll it over a little bit. And you can either move the block or you can move the wood. It doesn't worry too much. Don't matter too much. But the goal here is that I want to put an angle into it down to, from the top down to the bottom. So I want to sand basically an angle off up until I hit that pencil line. Which is not very, it's pretty, I don't know if it's sharp or not, honestly, but, you know, this is something that is just for decoration, honestly. We're going for, this is a scale kit, so it would be nice for it to be, good looking. Anyway, looking at it, I've removed about half as much of the material as I should at this point. I'm actually a little too, my angle's a little too sharp, so I'm going to go a little bit more closer to the vertical now. And I want that angle to be the whole way down from my pencil line down to the bottom of the wood. And overall, it's getting pretty close at this end, but not at this end. So I'm going to sand like halfway down the block. All right, that looks pretty good. Just going to smooth things out here. All right, I'm pretty pleased with that. Repeat the process on the other side. So here's perpendicular, so just slightly off perpendicular. But it's better to go too slowly than too quickly here, so take your time. That's actually, I need to angle it a little bit more, I think. Okay, I got to the pencil line this time. And the front part is a little bit off. All right, that looks, so they should look looking down on it, they should look roughly equal. This actually needs some more work. That looks better. They look roughly equivalent now. Okay, so let's see. What else do I need to do? I need to do front. This is a pretty shallow angle. So there's a lot of wood I'm going to have to process my way through here. I think maybe this time I'm going to grab a big piece. Sand this way. Now, you can see here I've sanded way more on this side than I have on that side. That may be because of the way that I'm holding it. It may be the way my sanding motion's going, but we don't want that. So I'm going to try to even things out here before I sand any more. I think that was probably because the way I was putting pressure through this was not even the whole way through. That's getting better. Yeah. Again, I was not even the last few strokes, so I've got to kind of like undo the imbalance. Okay, it's getting better. All right. It's almost down to where it should be. Let's try doing it this way now. That's getting pretty close. Actually, I'm going to make it a little steeper now. This perhaps is not particularly exciting cinema here, but it is an essential step. Okay, so I have the angle here done now. So I did this side, the front. I actually need to angle the corners right here as well. So that's going to be kind of interesting. Because I don't really have lines to see here anymore. Basically, I'm just going to kind of, yeah, I'm going to hold it generally the way I think I want it to go and then just sand a flat, yeah. See, I'm putting a bit of a flat face, facet into this. There's, unfortunately, I don't really have any guidance anymore because the lines are essentially gone. But that looks, that could use, the other side could use a bit more so that they're symmetrical. Because that's what we're going for more than anything else. Symmetry rather than like some kind of brilliant work of art. Now, the back needs to be, yeah, it looks like it's almost curved. Well, that's clearly not going to happen, but I am at least going to put an angled face onto the back. And that's pretty good so far. Keep going. Getting close. All right, I'm pretty pleased with that. All right, so how close does this look to the actual diagram? I mean, it's not bad. It's not like absolutely brilliant craftsmanship here, but it's not bad. This face could use a little bit more, I think. It's actually kind of hard to tell here because, there we go. There was still, actually, it's the opposite. It is fairly easy to tell because this part is cut with the laser, so it's burned. So the right in here, I haven't sanded yet. So that does tell me I needed to do a little bit more work to clean it up. So I should get rid of all the darkened wood color. Actually, that's the case here on the back too as well. There's a little bit more. There we go, it could come off. All right. So anyway, one last word of advice with this. It's balsa. It is not indestructible. You can be kind of rough with it, but it will snap, and you really do not want that to happen. Anyway, the last thing that we need to do with this is going to go around a body tube. Not this one, but this is the closest one. It's going to go on like this, and it's actually going to go on one that's narrow. Let me actually find that. Let's see, we want part T, which is the longer of the two. That's this one. So it's going to go on like this. Now, because this is fairly narrow, the back of it, the back of this is not curved, at least not right now. So we want to actually put a curve into it so that it doesn't rock like this. So to do that, I'm going to wrap my piece of sandpaper here around the body tube. I'm going to do my best to hold it in place. And then I'm going to sand this up and down, trying to go as close to straight up and straight down as possible. And the idea here is that I'm only really sanding the middle of this to make it conform to the shape of the body tube. Now this of course only works if you're going exactly up and down, because otherwise you're going to be sanding a shape that into it that you don't want, that won't match. So already, there we go. I can see some curve to it, but I doubt that's enough. So keep going. This is another one of those slow and steady kind of things here, because I really don't want to have sanded in the wrong shape into this. All right, let's see how close that is. Remember how it was wobbly? I mean, there's still a little, I can put a little wobble into it, but not much. So overall, I'm pleased with that. I'm not sure if you can see here. I mean, I can see it, but there's definitely a curve into the wood now. So we'll say that's done. I get to do 3 more of those. That's super fun. That's what I'm going to be doing right after this. But before we get to that point, there is one last thing that I need to do, at least in this particular section. Wax paper back. I still have a fin in there, plus it's kind of glued in place. But this is a long decoration as well, and it's too long to be one continuous piece, so I need to glue it together. Seeing how this is so long, it should be pretty easy to use my ruler. There we go, to get everything nice and straight. So I don't think, I'm going to look at the instructions here again, but I don't think, this end obviously is curved, so it's a front end. This doesn't seem to have a preferred front or back, so that's fine. So it should go something like that. This is pure decoration, so we don't need to worry too much about getting a good strong seam here. It would be nice, but not essential. So just a dab. And I do want to just spread it out so it's good enough. Okay. And then put it in place. Everything's nicely pushed up against the ruler. I am going to put something not this heavy, but I'm going to put something on top of this. Not entirely sure what. Probably my glue bottle. Just on the seam there to make sure that nothing decides it wants to like sneak up and warp. Possible, but unlikely. Now that I think about it, I'm probably going to put this on the seam and probably 2 other smaller, somewhat heavy objects at the front and the end, down here, and up here, just to make sure things don't warp. This isn't a big, huge deal if it does, but it'll make it harder to attach later. Now, after this is very dry and as rigid as it's going to get, I need to round it, that's not going to be fun because of how long it is. I mean, gee, it's over a foot long. So, oh, nuts. I pulled it apart. Lovely. All right. Anyway, so this is probably about as good a place to stop for now. In the intervening time, I still have more fins to make. I've got more of these little doodads to shape. So plenty of things to be doing. It's probably pretty good. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next part.